Hey, what's up guys? It's Marf and welcome back to another Asphalt video. Today I have a bit of a different one and a bit of a special one in my opinion. I went back to Asphalt 8. I wanted to do some multiplayer, but I wanted to play with my favorite car. As some of you know, there is no Audi models in Asphalt 9. The last big Asphalt game to have Audis is Asphalt 8, and thank gosh they have the TT, or at least one version of it in Asphalt 8. It is the TTS Coupe. Would have been nice to have the RS, but honestly I think I do kind of like the flat end of the TTS. It has that retractable spoiler. That doesn't work in Asphalt 8 unfortunately, but I think I kind of prefer that over the fixed rear wing of the RS model. But anyway, that's a totally different conversation. But I decided to play with the TTS in multiplayer, and I honestly had probably one of the best times playing Asphalt I have within the past couple of years, and I'll talk about why. But first, let's talk about the TTS Coupe, because it's actually a pretty darn interesting car for Asphalt 8. So firstly, when I was doing some research about this car in terms of Asphalt 8, I found out that it's a pretty good beginner car. Now, as you know, I've been playing Asphalt 8 since the release, so I just kind of had this car in my garage. And since it's my favorite car ever, I was like super confused as to why I didn't fully max out and put all my pro kits on it. So I just kind of did that blindly without caring. I just wanted the best performance out of this car that I could get. But I realized that a lot of people were using this car as a sort of beginner multiplayer car, because it's actually a really good car in terms of its competitiveness in multiplayer at those lower ranks. And so I went, into some of these races without knowing it, and I just destroyed pretty much everyone. It was such a blast to play with this car. Let's go over some of the details about this car in case you're interested. At its top speed with nitro, you go around 208 miles per hour, and the acceleration, and I believe in Asphalt 8 they measure this in terms of 0 to 60, and for this car it is 3.15 seconds. Now, in terms of handling, it's pretty darn good, and what I really like about it is when you play with some of the D-class cars and even C-class cars in this game, in terms of Asphalt 8, sometimes when you start drifting and you try and go around a sharp corner, you just completely dump all of your speed, kind of like what happens in Asphalt 9 with most of the cars. But in this car, that doesn't seem to happen. You keep a lot of your speed when you go into a drift, which makes this car very enjoyable to use during those twisty sections, like that one twisty part in Nevada where you go over a lot of hairpin corners. But overall, this car is an absolute blast to drive. The nitro efficiency is pretty good, but most cars in Asphalt 8 have a generally good nitro efficiency. Now, just as a disclaimer, pretty much all of these races I think were just used with a nitro starter. I didn't use any other boosts, so the rank and the performance is the same. I didn't use any upgraded rank. I forgot exactly what that boost is called, but I didn't use that boost. I also don't think I used a double tank nitro in any of these races. So and I think a lot of the opponents I was going up against actually did have some of those boosts equipped. Most people I think did have the nitro starter, which is understandable. I would advise when you play multiplayer, you should definitely have at least a couple of boosts on your car, and they're pretty easy to get now in Asphalt 8. I know in terms of the nitro starter, you can just watch ads and you will get them for free, which is really awesome, and so most of the time you should just have a nitro starter at least. When you play multiplayer, it's so useful for acceleration, getting off the line, and making sure that you can keep ahead of your opponents, at least at the beginning of the race. If you don't have a car that accelerates in top speed but can have some pretty good acceleration, it's so useful. And most of these races you'll see I just blast ahead of everyone at the start. Although I would like to say I think that's just because the Audi TTS is just the OP car, it's better than the Bugatti Chiron. But talking about Bugatti, that was the car I was playing with until I decided to play with the TTS. And because it's been so long since I played any sort of multiplayer in Asphalt 8, I was really curious as to see what would happen if I play with the TTS, because I wasn't sure how matchmaking worked, although I know that they changed it recently. But I was completely surprised and very happy to find out that it does, at least in some way, match you with cars that are similar to your rank in terms of the performance, which is really awesome to see. So I wasn't going up against Chirons and Bugatti Divos or anything like that. The most common cars that I went up against in this ranking, and again, my rank is 1269. It's a fully upgraded, maxed out TTS Coupe. And so some of the cars that I saw most of the time were the Dios, Servolt, the Porsche 959, and the Camaro SS. And for the most part, at the beginning, I would just blast ahead of them, and I was able to keep my lead pretty much throughout the entire race. Sometimes a really good driver would show up and they would make less mistakes than I did. Like I believe in one race I come second against a Porsche 959, and so that was just props to them for being a really good driver. But most of the time I had a pretty easy first or second place. So if you're looking for a good multiplayer car and you don't have too much in your garage, I definitely recommend the TTS Coupe, because it is such a fun car to drive, and the performance can definitely hold its own in multiplayer. I mean, all of these races are either first or second place, and honestly, it was just a continuous recording session. I really didn't cut out much of anything. Now, granted, obviously, you shouldn't crash. That would definitely hurt your times in your multiplayer standings, but this car is really, really good for multiplayer in my opinion. So yeah, I just wanted to make another Asphalt 8 video because I've been having a lot of fun playing that game recently, and you know, they've been giving out so many cars with the festivals, you know, looking back on the Devo and the Chiron especially, but I realized that this game had my favorite car ever, and I wanted to just try it out in multiplayer, see what happens, because beyond multiplayer there really isn't a lot of other places you can really use this car. Obviously you can go through the mastery events in this car when you upgrade it, but it's not really useful anywhere else as far as I can tell. But please let me know if I can use this in any other event or whatever, because I would love to take advantage of this car. But yeah, I wanted to use it for multiplayer because that's just where I thought it would be most useful, especially because this game does matchmake you with players that have a similar performance rating as you, which is so awesome. And I would just absolutely love if Asphalt 9 did that as well, because I would love to play with some cars that I haven't played with for a while, like the lower end C class cars and the lower end D class cars. Like I would love to give the 370Z a try in multiplayer, but when I'm in like Gold League, I just simply can't do that. So yeah, I would definitely like it if Asphalt 9 changed their matchmaking system to allow people to go in cars that they just normally wouldn't drive, because I think it would be a fun time. I also do want to quickly mention that because I have the Crew 2, I also bought the Audi TT-RS in that game, which I believe is obviously a newer model because that game came out in 2018, I believe, and the Asphalt 8 TTS Coupe model is from 2013, I believe. So there's definitely a big gap there. But let me know if you want a video on the TT-RS in the Crew 2. I'd definitely love to do that. I, of course, made it matte orange and everything like that. But in Asphalt 8, it's a super fun car to drive. I definitely recommend you buy this car because I believe buying it is pretty cheap, and upgrading it as well compared to the other cars I think is pretty cheap as well. I don't know about cheap, but it should be the same price-ish as some of the other D-class cars. Again, for me, I just like blindly upgraded it because it's my favorite car, and I really wanted as much performance as I could out of that car. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I loved playing with the TTS. It's my favorite car. And yeah, I'll see you guys later.